Today on New England Living, we're raising the standard for a look at all things land and sea. We'll meet a woman sourcing the best spices for her Cambridge store and improving the lives of farmers along the way. And a new building redefining Mystic, Connecticut's historic waterfront. Plus, we're back in the test kitchen cooking up salmon with legal seafoods. And our mixology series kicks off with a cocktail creation that's sure to impress. It all starts right now on New England Living. New England has a style all its own. The people, the history, the culture. Join us as we discover the faces and places, the design and destinations, everyone and everything that makes New England extraordinary. I mean, does it get any better than this? Love the place you call home with New England Living. Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. First up, we're heading to Cambridge to check out a woman-owned business helping farmers across the globe, one spice at a time. Founder Claire Cheney travels the world, ethically sourcing the best spices to bring back home to New England. You founded Curio Spice Company in 2015. How did this idea come about?
I worked in specialty food for about 12 years. I actually worked in specialty coffee and tasted a lot of coffee and got really good at distinguishing the different tastes from all over the world. And it made me realize there's spices too that we source from all over the world that we don't necessarily understand where they come from and what are the stories behind those spices. So I actually left my job and I moved to Thailand to research spices.
What is it about spices that made you want to move to Thailand and start something completely different?
Spices are an amazing lens through which to learn about the world. They're, on the one hand, these sort of dry powders that we sprinkle on our food, but on the other hand, they are incredible aromatic storytellers. Depending on where they come from and where they're grown, the flavors can vary. We sell over 200 different spices, including our spice blends. Here you can come in, you can smell different spices, you can even have a taste if you're curious about different peppercorns, for example, or you want to try 3 different turmerics. We also have a variety of cookbooks. We have recipes galore that we've developed in-house to pair with the spices. And we have tools like mortar and pestles, grinders, things like that.
You've traveled to over a dozen countries to bring these unique flavors and spices back here to New England. When you go around the world, what are you looking for?
Spices are a huge commodity in the world, and that means that oftentimes you don't know where those spices are coming from or how they're grown. One of the things we're trying to do here at Curio Spice Company is change the way spices are traded around the world and do so by sourcing directly from farmers and uplifting those farmers. We focus on organic and fair trade, make sure that the farmers are making a living wage, and that also you're receiving a really fresh, beautiful spice.
You're also giving it back to other women-owned businesses. In what ways are you helping to support them?
Absolutely, that's a huge part of our mission. We do things both in the local Boston area with other women-owned businesses. We'll occasionally do pop-ups here in the store or connect on our social media. On a global scale, there's an even more dire need for uplifting women. One of our recent projects is in Ethiopia, where we're working with a women-run co-op. It's all women smallholder farmers that are growing herbs and spices, and that organization is also women-run, so that's been really gratifying. In addition to their work abroad, Curio is also helping support the local economy by sourcing from farms across New England. I grew up here in New England and I love working with New England farmers and supporting our community. So there's hundreds of farmers all over New England that are producing amazing flavors, whether it's seaweed or dried mushrooms, or there's even some farmers in Western Mass who grow ginger and turmeric. It's amazing to scour the land and figure out what tastes good. And on top of the usual favorites, Curio also offers a variety of unique spices and blends. We offer some really unusual, rare, and hard to find spices here at Curio. Some of those are locally grown or produced spices, such as a beautiful sea salt from Duxbury or a lemon verbena herb from Rhode Island, but also really interesting and unusual peppercorns. For example, we will have a wild peppercorn from the jungles of Madagascar, which is really special.
You also have a spice blending studio in Winchester. What goes on there?
We import spices from all around the world. So we're receiving spices from Vietnam, Cambodia, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and we're taking those raw spices and grinding them down into small batches of very aromatic spice blends. We're one of the few spice companies in the US that blends everything by hand. We do that in really small batches so that when you receive your spices and spice blends, they're the most aromatic and most flavorful. I've developed these spice blend recipes by researching the spices, by understanding the flavor profiles, and also because they're so fresh, balancing all those intense flavors so that they come together and harmonize and bring you a really beautiful ingredient to use in your cooking.
Beyond the aromas and the stories behind these spices, it all comes down to the taste. A big part of what you do here is you like to educate people. You encourage them to try the different spices. And out of all that you offer, it's hard to pick just two, but you did that for us. What do we have here?
Yeah, so here we have a couple examples of peppercorns. Pepper is the world's most widely traded spice. But when's the last time you actually thought about where your black pepper came from and what does it really taste like? We have some really unusual, cool peppercorns here at Curio, and I thought we'd try a couple of them. The example here is a wild pepper from Madagascar. It's actually called Voet Siperiferi, which is...
Glad you said that.
Say that 10 times fast. And then the other one is not a true peppercorn, but is a pepper berry. It's called bay rose. And this berry is really flavorful and I think is a really fun new spice to try. It's a berry from a tree that's related to mangoes, so it has a really fruity flavor. What do you taste?
That is unlike anything I've ever had before. You were right. Very fruity, very delicious. And it's very telling that these are from the same place and they look completely different.
Yeah, what's cool about spices is that you don't just get one spice from one country. There's amazing variety from all the countries we source from.
And you went all the way to Madagascar to bring this back here to Massachusetts.
Yeah, sourcing spices from origin is a huge part of what we do and a huge part of why I like to share the stories of the spices.
You have the pure spices, but you also have your signature spice blends. Tell me about these.
Our signature spice blends are original spice mixes that are inspired by the places I've traveled, including places like here in New England. So one of our blends there is called Supek, which is kind of fun.
And these are all the New England ingredients. So you have them listed: seaweed from Maine, hot chili from Massachusetts, clam chowder from Rhode Island. I'm just kidding. It's probably great in clam chowder.
It is.
How do you go about curating all these ingredients and blending them together?
This one was a challenge. I really wanted to create a spice blend that celebrated my home here in New England. And we don't think of New England as a spice destination per se, but in actual fact, there's tons of flavors native to this area that are so delicious to use in your cooking. So it's a seaweed savory blend that is really good on fish, on grilled food. It's really good on salads. It brings a lot of the New England flavors to life. And the name Supek is a Native American word for ocean, so also honoring kind of the native people of this land.
How important is that to your business, to be able to have people come in and walk away with some new knowledge?
It's hugely important. Education is a huge part of why I started this business, because in venturing out to learn about spices, I knew that I wanted to learn a lot, and then I thought, well, maybe other people do too, and I hope to inspire curiosity in home cooks and professional chefs alike.
Coming up after the break, we're checking out a new property raising the standard on Connecticut's shoreline. When New England Living returns after this.